Hello and welcome to my November 2024 productivity report. I am coming to you from lovely Nashville, Tennessee. It's a beautiful day, but I haven't been outside yet, so that's coming, but I wanted to get this report done first. I just got here last night and I'm already settled and loving it, but yeah. What a whirlwind it has been since I last checked in. So we have a lot to talk about. Let's get into it right away. The first thing I want to talk about is how I felt in November. And I'm not gonna lie, that was another challenging month. It was very emotional and very complicated. Turbulent is a good word that I used in the blog post. I don't even know where to start. If you're not in the US right now, it can be hard to understand, but the tensions that are here are so high right now that you can just feel it pretty much everywhere you go, and it's not a good feeling. And because of the election, people's emotions were all over the place, my own included. And it was a very disappointing month for me in terms of humanity, I have to say. Not because of who won, who lost, all of those things, not at all. Because of how I watched people behave. I felt like the absolute worst in people came to life. And not just one person, not just two people, not three, not four, a lot of people. And it made me really sad. I really felt we were better than this. I thought we were above pettiness and, the whole tit for tat and all that. And it just doesn't seem to be the case. And that's kind of what inspired this report, for this month, because in order to be the best version of yourself, you have to understand how to master your emotional self. And we'll get to that. That's the takeaway this month. But let me just say, I can work with anybody regardless of policy disagreements, as long as there is a foundation of mutual respect in place. And when that's out the window, I'm out. I can't work with people that do not respect me as a human being first. And this month was very difficult. It made me sad to see just how many people felt okay with putting other people down in various forms and formats. And it may be that it's not ill-intended and people's emotions are just running high, but there were so many people that I felt crossed the boundary, crossed the line, that it was just like high school all over again. And it was just so draining, so incredibly draining. And I feel that when you are a secure person, you don't need to put other people down. You get that that's not a thing. And you don't have to take grievances out on others and all of that. And I was just sad to see how many people are not in that place yet. So with that being said, I had to say goodbye to several friendships, and that was very hard, but my integrity is not for sale. I'm not going to compromise on my boundaries. And if you cross a line, you cross a line, and that's it. And there were so many deal breakers in November that it was very difficult and very emotional. But we got through it, and here we are in beautiful Nashville, and it's all going to be okay. And I have nothing against any of those people. It's just that it wasn't the right fit for me, and respectfully, we have to part ways. So that's just what it is. This sort of brings me to my takeaway for this month, and that is, the battle royale that goes on between your emotions and your logical, rational mind. And the audiobook that I listened to this month sort of brought that into focus. I think I actually picked it up because of everything that was going on. I definitely became a much better leader in November. It was just one of those situations that you can pick which direction you want to go in. Do you want to quit? Do you want to keep going? How do you want to handle this? And do you want to rock the boat? Do you not want to rock the boat? I decided to rock the boat. I want to make sure that the people who are in my boat are people who are going to row. And not everybody was on that same page, so they had to go. And I think as a result of watching how everything unfolded, it became really clear to me who in my circle has a grip and who, is emotionally aware, maybe is the word, and who is not. And at this point in my life, I just need people with self-awareness around me. Not just for leadership, but just for functioning as a team, just for functioning as a unit. There was a really great quote that goes, I think it was Celine Dion who said it last that I heard. She says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I don't know if it's her quote or if she just heard it from somebody else, but I just thought that was so important. And I want to go far, so I need the right type of people around me. I'm not interested in going fast. I don't mind it taking time. I just want to make sure that I have the right company on the journey, So it's just a function at this point. If you're going to be on my team, you need to have a handle on how to behave and how to act rational and how to not get your emotions, let your emotions, I should say, get the best of you and react and lash out and things like that. You have to sort of rise above your own biases and look at the total situation, see what's going on, make your, good decisions. And you kind of, not that you can't make emotional decisions ever, you can, it's a part of it, but it's not the only thing. And that's one of the things that I teach, in Mindful Monday Mapping, for example. It's that there is an emotional instinct that we all have that we need to follow, but there's also a set of facts that we need to adhere to, and we need to understand what the facts are, and we need to use both in combination in order to make those good decisions. And you can't sort of have either or. That's going to get you in trouble, and that's what happened this month. I saw that play out so many times, and it was fascinating to watch, fascinating and sad. So I actually want to share this quote from the book. It's called The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, and that's the audiobook I picked up this month. We'll get to that later as well. But it really speaks to this skill a lot. So there's this one chapter that really hit home, and he's talking about Pericles, who is this famous, politician in ancient Greece. Read up on him if you don't know his story. It's quite a fascinating story and very applicable to what's happening in our current society. Anyway, here's the quote. It says, it's quite a long one, so bear with me. What consumed Pericles as a thinker and a public figure was how to get out of a trap, how to be truly rational in an area dominated by emotions. The solution he came up with is unique in history and devastatingly powerful in its results. It should serve as our ideal. In his conception, the human mind has to worship something, has to have its attention directed towards something that it values above all else. For most people, it's their ego. For some, it's their family, their clan, their god, or their nation. For Pericles, it would be nous, the ancient Greek word for mind or intelligence. Nous is a force that permeates the universe, creating meaning and order. The human mind is naturally attracted to this order. This is the source of our intelligence. For Pericles, the nous that he worshipped was embodied in the figure of the goddess Athena. Athena was literally born from the head of Zeus, her name itself reflecting this, a combination of God, theos, and mind, nous. But Athena came to represent a very particular form of nous, eminently practical, feminine, and earthy. She's the voice that comes to heroes in times of need, instilling in them a calm spirit, orienting their minds towards the perfect idea for victory and success, then giving them the energy to achieve this. To be visited by Athena was the highest blessing of them all, and it was her spirit that guided great generals and the best artists, inventors, and tradesmen. Under her influence, a man or woman could see the world with perfect clarity and hit upon the action that was just right for the moment. For Athens, her spirit was invoked to unify the city, make it prosperous and productive. In essence, Athena stood for rationality, the greatest gift of the gods to mortals, for it alone could make the human act with divine wisdom. To cultivate his inner Athena, Pericles first had to find a way to master his emotions. Emotions turn us inward, away from news, away from reality. We dwell on our anger and our insecurities. If we look out at the world and try to solve problems, we see things through the lens of these emotions. They cloud our vision. Pericles trained himself to never react in the moment, to never make a decision while under the influence of a strong emotion. Instead, he analyzed his feelings. Usually, when he looked closely at his insecurities or his anger, he saw that they were not really justified, and they lost their significance under scrutiny. Sometimes he had to physically get away from the heated assembly and retire to his house, where he remained alone for days on end, calming himself down. Slowly, the voice of Athena would come to him. It goes on, but you get the idea. Athena is a master of her emotions. She brings order among the chaos to the entire mythological world. She was the goddess of wisdom, war, and arts, and she was the one who was depicted as the most courageous, resourceful, wise, organized, and strategic minds of the gods. And she was known as the patron goddess of heroic endeavor, meaning that she would walk along those who were heroes as their companion and provide them with knowledge and strategy and guidance and decision-making in all aspects of their life. And this is not the first thing I've read about Athena. When you read about her, she's always the one who upholds justice, solves disputes, guides in decision-making, because she has really clear ethics and a rational mind that's unaffected by emotion. And she doesn't lash out ever. She's always calm and clear and proactive. And she pauses, she analyzes, and logically thinks of the best strategy and solution before she acts. And I may not be a mythological goddess, or Greek for that matter, but everything else rings true for me. Athena is who I strive to be. For my clients, for myself, and for everyone around me. She and I have the same mission, right? To guide our heroes on their journey, to make sure that they make the right decisions at the right time and for the right reasons. Because that's how you get to the top, and that's how you stay there. So I want to be that voice of rationale and logic and clarity and direction for my clients and my friends. And I want to bring order and peace, to their world, and effective decision-making above all. And so I almost feel like when people ask me what I do, this should be my answer. So now I just have to figure out how to make that pitch a bit shorter, because this really embodies the spirit that I want to bring to the world. And I'm grateful to have that clarity for November. I mean, it came through loud and clear. This is who I am, this is what I do. And when all of those situations came up, in around the election and around that time, I didn't react on emotion. Was I emotional? Yes. But I spent a good 2-3 weeks analyzing those emotions, looking at all the sides, thinking about any possible way that I could be wrong in my assessment, thinking about perhaps I had misunderstood something. Should I give another benefit of the doubt? How should I handle this? And it wasn't until I had a very clear and sound analysis of the full picture that I made my decision. And it felt good to do that. And I believe I acted correctly with everything that I did. And that's all you can do, So that to me elevates me as a leader. And it brings me closer to being the leader that I want to be and to being the person that I want to be. And that's always the goal. And I think it's also who you have to be, right? To some extent, because if you want to be an entrepreneur, a hero, for others, an artist, a person at the top of your field, you have to portray those leadership skills. And that requires a massive amount of investment in your self-development. Not to say that you have to have all the answers. nobody's ever going to have all the answers, but good leadership requires rational thought over impulse decision making. You know, when you have any amount of power, any amount of influence over others, you have to know how to manage yourself and get out of your own way. And you have to be very aware of your flaws and where they hold you back. And I feel like a lot of the people who are leaders in the world today are extremely unself-aware, and that's the problem. It's a skill to develop, I'm telling you. I watched so many people shoot themselves in the foot this past month, either by saying something offensive online and getting canceled, or like, you know, just burning their bridges in all manners of ways. You know, don't burn your bridges based on pettiness and emotional, you know, impulse. It's just, you have to step back and think about the long-term impact of what you are saying and how you're behaving, right? When you do that, you'll be a lot better for it. So yeah, long story short, there was a lot of drama in November, but I feel like the way I responded to it was very Athenian of me, and I was proud of that. And I didn't act on off emotions on a whim. I patiently played things out over the whole month. I analyzed every bit of the situation from all angles, and then I spoke to other people, got their feedback, made them help me see my blind spots, my biases, all of those things. And then at the very end of all of that, I made some rational, logical decisions and moved forward with those. And I'm very proud of myself for standing my ground and having clear boundaries, even if that was difficult, because those difficult decisions is what makes you a good leader. And that's what I'm trying to strive to be every day. So another milestone, I guess. All right, with that out of the way, let's talk about how productive I was this month. So I actually hit the ground once I got back to Chicago. I was extremely productive, even though it was a very heavy emotional month for me. And let me clarify that when I say productive, it might be hard to know what I mean. You know, if you're not a person in the productivity industry, it could be difficult to understand, you know, what I mean by that. But to me, productive work means that there is a clear and tangible result, an outcome that is generated from my input, right? From my work. There's a result that I get, an ROI on my effort. And I want to see and feel and know that I did something that led somewhere. And there's a clear return on investment, right, of my time. So as an example of being productive, I have a stat for you that helps you illustrate this. I recorded 21 videos this month, and that was for the relaunch of my course, DPO Pro. It's coming out in January, version 3 of it. You know, we're almost 10 years into this course now, and version 3 needed to happen with all the tech changes that have been going on lately. So I'm re-recording that, and I'm about halfway done. But I scripted, recorded, edited, and rendered 21 videos in November, besides all of my other projects. This is just this project. And each video took just over an hour. So I completed all of those videos, 21 videos, in about 30 hours or so out of work. And that is extremely productive, because that is just over an hour of investment per video that then has a long-term ROI in my life and business. And that's going to pay off in spades. And anybody who is a content creator knows just how time-consuming it is to record and edit videos, right? So I guess the point I'm trying to make is that when you practice, when you get good at it, and when you have a solid workflow and your systems in place, and you know what needs to happen, you can be incredibly productive and get things done like that, right? So 21 videos in just about 30 hours. I have to say, I think that's freaking phenomenal. I mean, that's really, really good to be able to crank that out in that amount of time. And not to say, again, that time is the only factor here. I want quality too, but these videos were up to my standards in terms of quality, right? So I'm not looking at just one thing. I'm not just looking at speed. I'm looking at the quality of what I'm putting out in the amount of time that I'm putting out. And how it feels while I'm doing it. This felt very light and very fast to put together, and it's because the systems and operations are solid at this point. And you know, with anything, the more you do it, the better at it you get, right? We're on the first take of this productivity report, and here we are. The first few reports, I had to do many takes in order to even start talking properly and sounding coherent. Not to say that I'm there now, but you get the idea, right? The more you do something, the better you get at it. And if you keep going and you get your workflow done, the more you're able to accomplish. And then it keeps rolling, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, that momentum. So yeah, I still have more to go, obviously, and I'm only halfway on all of the videos that I need to do, but December is also going to be an extremely productive month, so I have no doubt that I'm going to wrap it up by the end of the year. It's going to be solid. That brings me to talking about how many projects I completed. And now this is the stat that's going to be interesting, because despite the insane amount of productivity, I only completed one project. And you know, if you've been watching these videos, that my goal is 3. So what happened there? How could I have been so productive yet not completed a project? Well, it's not the same thing, right? A project is an entire project. And if you don't close it, you're not done. I didn't close 2 of my projects this month. And there is an explanation, so bear with me. I knew going in that 2 out of the 3 projects were just massive. So obviously I've already talked about one. It's the update to my course. It's a huge course, okay? Let's just put it out there. It's a huge course. It's a massive course. It's extremely thorough. It has a ton of tech tutorials, and it's just gonna take time to re-record it. I knew I wasn't gonna get that done in 1 month. There's just no way. However, I got a good halfway there, and that's amazing. So I knew that that was going to stretch. And the same thing with the other project that I took on, which was a market and monetize bootcamp for the photo managers. Loved it, loved teaching, loved coaching, and that was basically like a virtual conference that I had to, you know, plan out and do presentations for and teach for 2 full days, and come up with logistics and learning plans and challenges for people, and run a Facebook group and this and that. You know, it takes time. And I knew that that one was also going to stretch into December, you know. In fact, we still have the Facebook group as of today up and running, and I'm still checking in on people with some of the challenges. So that's not going to close till the end of the month. And I knew that going in, but I was okay with that. So 2 massive projects just was going to stretch over 2 months. And normally I break things down more. Normally I don't take on multi-layer projects that stretch over a longer period of time. I break things down into phases instead. But I didn't think that made sense this time around. I was like, let me just go for it. I'm a pro at this, so I know I can handle it. I know what I need to do. And if I don't close them out this month, that's just what it is. I will close them out next month. Plus, last month I actually closed out 6 out, you know, instead of 3. So it's not that productivity is an issue for me at this point. So I was okay with that. So that's what that result was. And it just kind of brings to mind, you know, the idea that you can be extremely productive, yet you might not close out a project. Those 2 are not the same thing. And if you're confused about that, please reach out to me, because I would love to explain the difference to you in more detail, right? If you have large year-long or month-long projects, you're not going to have the same type of momentum. You can still be incredibly productive. It just means you can't tick the box that you did it, right? And usually what we want to do is break it down enough that you can tick all the boxes, because that's where that momentum comes in. In this case, I understand how it works, and I'm okay with it, and I made that decision consciously going into it, so it's totally okay. The one project I did actually complete was a redo of my home office. I wanted to bring in some new energy, refresh the space, and get it going, you know, and have a new feeling in there. And what prompted this was actually the fact that as I was recording music, there was a bunch of weird background noise coming from my microphones, and one of the setups just wasn't correct. So I had to pull an XLR cable, and I didn't want to pull it across the room. And I was like, how can I rearrange this room to make my mic setup better and have all my different things be the way I want it without having a bunch of cord clutter in my office. So I had to re-strategize and come up with a different layout in order to be able to do that. But it turned out okay. So now my desk is repositioned, my view is different, but my microphones are set up correctly and I'm recording much better and all of that. So that felt really good to get some new energy. The feng shui is not 100% correct yet. I still have some adjustments to make over time as I continue to live with that new space, but it's way better than it was before, so that's good enough. And I completed that in one day, so box ticked. My favorite project this month, I have to say, despite the fact that it felt good to redo my home office, the Market and Monetize Bootcamp for the photo managers, oh my goodness, it was so much fun. In human design, I believe it's called a generator or something like that, motivator generator. And I'm the one who gets the fire going. I'm the one who starts the action, and gets things moving. And I just live for this type of coaching. And so I taught 4 different presentations in one day. Each session was about 90 minutes or so, I think, if you count the breakout rooms and all of it, and all the time that it took to sort of get the discussion going and the strategizing and all that. And I was a little worried going in that 4 sessions in one day would be a lot to handle. I thought I would be much more drained, but surprisingly, I fed off the energy and I was actually really energized at the end of the day. I think I just love the energy and having people have aha moments and takeaways and understand that they can do things. That just makes me so happy. It went surprisingly well. So we had a big sort of one-day thing in mid-November, and then we had a wrap-up day as well. And surprisingly, I was bursting with energy. I had so much fun teaching it, and I think it's just the adrenaline rush of having so much attention focused on me that I really love. And so far, the feedback has been positive, and it seems like people have been having really good results. So it worked, and I'm proud of that, and I'm happy with that, and I think it's safe to say that it was a success. This brings us to hours worked. So you've already heard about how productive I was. I thought I was going to go way over this month. Way, way, way over. If you'd asked me in October, I would have said, oh yeah, I'm going to be over by 20 hours easily. That didn't happen. I worked for just under 104 hours, and that comes to about 26 hours per week. So if you've watched these reports before, you know that my goal has been 25 hours a week or less, 20 to 25, somewhere in there. 26 isn't bad, considering how much was generated, right? And the amount of videos and the amount of things that I got done. I anticipated that re-recording my course was going to take way, 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 way longer. And I'm really surprised actually at how easy and light it has felt, because it's such a big, heavy course. Granted, we're not done yet, but still, I'm more than halfway done, and it's going well. So I guess the takeaway here is that as long as I don't go past 30 hours or more per week, I'm totally cool. It's going to be a little bit up and down. It's never going to be, a perfect 25 hours per week every single time. I just want to keep an eye on it, because work-life balance is what I do. I have to be good at it for myself in order to help my clients. I have to understand how to manage it for myself. Otherwise, what kind of example would I be? It wouldn't make any sense. So I have to just keep an eye on it, maintain it, and, be conscious that I don't overwork, because I love what I do so much. I love what I put out in the world right now. I love helping my clients and working on the projects that I do. And if I don't keep an eye on the hours I put in, I could easily go over, because it just doesn't feel like work. It's so much fun. And when your lines are blurred like that, when you're just having fun, it's easy to keep your head in front of the computer and just keep going, right? So you can't really, when you're an entrepreneur like this, especially me with, remote work and traveling and this and that. You can't compartmentalize your life. Some people try to do, personal life and business. In this day and age, it just doesn't work, right? What affects us at work has nothing to do with work. It's always stuff from home, or vice versa. You cannot divide those two things. They have to harmonize. They have to be solid, locked together. And talking about your emotional self, right? I was just having a conversation yesterday with a friend of like, if you don't have a grip on what's going on and you don't feel good in yourself, how can you perform? You can't, right? You have to be at your best in every single aspect in order to make things happen. And you can't just ignore half of the equation, right? You have to make sure that you look at all the factors. Talking about, again, the Athenian version of yourself, of making sure that you don't have your blind spots, ignored. Like, you have to identify them, look at them, and solve it. You can't just say, oh yeah, I'm just gonna bury my head in the sand. No, that's not gonna work. Long term, we have to make sure that we look at everything. It's a 360 view here. You cannot ignore half the equation. So I have to live and breathe what I teach, and I feel like I do. And that's one of the reasons why this stat is in this report. It's because I want to be very upfront with you about how much I work and how much time I put in, so that you can see not only is it possible to have like work-life balance, it's about managing your environment. And when you manage your environment well, you can make anything happen. So it's just awareness again, and understanding how you respond, how you handle things, how you analyze, how you make decisions, and what makes the difference. It's huge. Okay, for digital images, November was such a quiet month. I was home for the first time in a long time, and it felt so good to have some downtime. So there were no specific like events really, apart from the boot camp, which, I didn't take pictures at. We did record it, but you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't photos in the normal sense. So I actually only took 671 photos this month, and most of them was from a photo shoot that I did. I had very few candids, I had very few like normal photos. It was just a very quiet time. The two major reasons was, of course, I was home, and two, I was completely an emotional wreck for most of the month, so I didn't have the energy to show up on camera like I normally do. Normally I'm so excited to be in front of the camera, but I feel like this month I just needed downtime. And that's okay, some months are gonna be like that. You gotta give yourself permission to take time off when you need it. I could have done more photos, but honestly, they wouldn't have turned out. You need to bring a certain energy, and you need to, like Tyra says, you need to smize, right? And bring it. And I just didn't have it in me this month in the same way. So 671, I've kept all of them so far. I haven't actually culled them yet. I still feel like I want to take a bit more time to think about which ones I want to keep and for what purpose. So I'm gonna cull them in December instead. And that's totally okay too. Because there were less there, I'm just gonna bundle them with December's batch. It's gonna be a lot more from Nashville and LA and all of that. So it'll be fine, it'll be fine. And I have to say, just like with the photos, it was kind of a hot mess in terms of walking this month, same reasons. I was home, and I was a bit of a mess in terms of what was going on, and I only walked under 50,000 steps, just under 49,803 measured steps. That is quite sad. That's about 1,500 steps a day, and that is probably one of the lower scores this year. Obviously, when I'm home, we all know, if you've been watching this report for a while, I've said it many times, Chicago is not my most active city. It's the least active city. So when I'm in Chicago, I have to work extremely hard at staying active. It's almost like the environment I'm in has natural blockers, and it makes it so easy to drop the ball. And this month I gave myself a break. I've been traveling so much that I actually didn't want to walk. I wanted to sit on the couch for most of the month. And with all the ups and downs of feelings and logic and thinking and analyzing. I just felt physically and mentally and emotionally drained for a lot of it. And so again, I gave myself a break, and that's okay. Sometimes you need to do that. And when you feel the need to rest, you need to rest, you know? I've had this conversation with people as well very recently. It's like that go, go, go attitude of, you know, I'm stronger than this. I can rise above this. I'm always a positive person. I'm a glass half full person. You know, yes, I'm in pain, but I can still go running. Yes, I'm in pain, but I can still go boxing. I can still do what I need to do. And yes, you can. You absolutely can. No doubt about it. Doesn't mean it's a great idea to do that every single time, right? Sometimes it's a good idea to actually not do it and to just rest and let yourself recover. Recovery time is so important. And especially for those of you out there who are athletes in any sense or have a physical aspect to your job, if you're performers, for example, you have to take care of your body. You have to get rest too. Can you run for 18, 20, 40, 60 hours straight? Sure. I know some of you do. I don't. But I know some of you do. Can you do it? Of course you can. But doing it all the time, every day, probably not a great idea, right? We also need to have that sort of intense recovery time so that we can come back even stronger. And knowing when to take that time is also a skill that you can develop. And again, that comes back to the whole good decision-making part of looking at the total picture and saying, yes, yeah, you know, maybe it's better that I take a moment to myself and let myself recharge. So, you know what? I'm going to keep an eye on this stat. I may have to keep it for 2025. I don't let go of a goal until I am comfortably beyond that. I don't move the goalpost unless I'm comfortably beyond where I'm supposed to be according to my goal. And so I did not meet every single month the 5,000 step goal. I'm way better than last year. Absolutely. Huge improvement to this year. But I still have not gone beyond every single month consistently 5K steps per day. For that reason, I may have to bring this goal back for 2025 and stick with it. I want to make sure that we keep going with that and we don't let it go until we're comfortably at a certain level. So stay tuned for more of that decision making. I think I'm going to do an annual roundup, and we'll see how that goes. But in November I needed to rest, and that was just the thing. It was just what the doctor prescribed, so it is what it is. For home cooked meals, we did a lot better. We did so well. And again, flip side, because I was home. Isn't that interesting? You know, the environment shifts so much. Like when I'm in LA, for example, I walk so much, don't cook as much because I'm not at home. When I'm home, I cook so much, but I don't walk. So, you know, finding that balance, right, of which situation do you want to be the default one, and then how are you going to adjust to bring it up, and what is the right environment to put yourself in order to maintain all of your goals. Such a great discussion to have. But for home cooked meals, we came in at 92.1%. Wow, that's all I can say. That is the best stat so far, I believe, this year. And yes, it was because I was home, but it was also a more conscious effort to cook and take care of myself and rest and recharge. And I think I've been traveling so much that I hadn't been cooking a lot on the road, so I had gotten a break, you know? And it's just so much easier when you get that break to come back and then do it stronger, right? And that was my point with the whole walking thing, you know? My target has been about 75% for the year, so I'm super happy. 92, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would achieve that this year, but here we are, you know? And that's just, again, practice and making sure that you pay attention and keep an eye on your KPIs, and knowing where you start and where you're going and measuring and all of that makes such a difference. That's why I'm doing these reports, is to show you there is progress. It may not be a huge increase every single time, but there is progress. And it's just that it's stretched out over such a long period of time that sometimes you don't feel it and you don't see it. Doesn't mean it's not there. It's always there. Learning always works. Improving yourself, self-awareness, paying attention, it always works. It's just that it works slowly. So you have to keep track and stop and pause and see how far you've come. And that's when you realize, oh my goodness, look at this, right? When we started out, we were somewhere around 30%. That's huge, 30 to 90%. Think about what a dramatic, even if it took 2 years to shift that percentage, think of what a dramatic impact that's gonna have over the next few years, the next 20 years, 30 years of our lives. Think about the impact of that shift. Huge. So yes, it took a while to get there, but my goodness, am I proud of that. We are still convenience people, don't get me wrong. There's no doubt about that. But we've come a long way in making better decisions and figuring out when and how to adjust. So I was saying last month that if this streak continues until the end of the year, then I think I can safely let go of this goal in 2025 and replace it with something else. So we're gonna still watch. We have 1 more month to go to watch this particular goal and see, but I am pretty confident that we can make this work. So yay. For books and learning, I've already talked a lot about it. The Laws of Human Nature, again, by Robert Greene. Anything by Robert Greene that you pick up is going to be a good read. I have the Audible version. It is a long Audible. It's like 22, 23 hours or something. So, you know, I put that away while I was traveling. It's worth the investment though, of your time. It's such a good book. And as you know already, I'm a big fan of self-development books and I'm always in learning mode. This is a staple one for me. It led me to this month's takeaway, and it's just such a timely read. It's such a timely read right now because all the examples that are in the book, you can pretty much pinpoint them somewhere in the world at this very moment, and that says a lot. So if you are an entrepreneur or somebody who's interested in communication, in bettering yourself, in understanding the world better, I highly recommend that you pick it up. Anything, again, by Robert Greene is going to be worth your time. Shout out to Robert Greene, by the way. My hat's off to you, sir. Fantastic. I have no other word to describe it. And I think the point that he makes is that in order to master yourself, you have to be in control of your emotions, and that's when you become the leader that you can be. That's when you understand how to communicate, what to say, what not to say, more than anything, and that makes a huge difference. So again, highly recommended. Pick it up if you can. This month I didn't do any Fika with Caroline events, any rounds, and that there were several reasons why. Mostly because it was an intense month work-wise, and I did have some fantastic conversations, some very deep conversations with friends. Thank you, by the way, those of you who stepped up for me. You know who you are. I was actually very proud of myself. I think this month was the first time that I reached out and said to people, look, I'm not okay. I need you to pick me off the floor right now. And they did. And that was a huge ask for me. I'm usually not the one. I always feel like I'm inconveniencing people a bit, you know, and I'm usually the one to hold space for other people. But in November, I really needed it. And I was proud of myself for asking, for expressing that need, and for accepting that help when it was there, when it was offered to me in return. And again, thank you. You know who you are. That meant a whole lot to me. And it just shows you when you have the right people in your boat, you know, it's not going to sink. It's not going to sink. And it was truly a very rewarding feeling that I had this month. I've been truly blessed with some amazing people, and I'm so grateful for them. So yeah, even though it was a tough month, it was a very enlightening month, and a very productive month, and a very I guess you could say developing month. It was it felt like I went from here to here because I had the right people in my corner. So that was beautiful to see. Fake Out with Caroline will be back soon. Not quite yet, but keep an eye on my mailing list. If you're not on my mailing list yet, make sure you jump on it to get notifications when there are slots that open up. It's still fun. I'm still going to keep it. Just, November was not it. You would not have wanted to be there for that. Let's see what happens next month. Okay, so on to success celebrated. I want to highlight the photo managers this month. I know I've talked about them, doing events for them and this and that in other reports, in collaboration, but I really want to give a full dedicated shout out this month to the photo managers for letting me do my thing and for always having my back and for letting me step in and lead in my way and pretty much do what I want in terms of content and trusting me with that responsibility. And a big shout out to Kathy Nelson, the founder of the Photo Managers. She's always had my back and always been so generous and respectful and gracious and given me such a platform time and time again. And regardless of what I've taught or how I've wanted to structure things and all of that. And just thank you, Kathy. I'm so grateful for you. So grateful for everybody who's a part of the Photo Managers, Isabel and Mary and everybody that participated in the boot camp that I just did, everybody who's participating in masterclass, and all of the events that we're putting on. I'm also honored to be an advisory board member to the Photo Managers, and seeing that organization sort of shine and move forward is something that I'm very passionate about and very proud of and happy to be a part of. It's a smart group of people, a bunch of caring people, and again, it's that synergy of knowing that there's mutual respect and holding that ground. Everything else can be worked out. So thank you to the Photo Managers. I'm so grateful to be a part of that community, and looking forward to many more years of collaborations for sure. All right, finally, tea of the month, here we go. I have to highlight another classic. I feel like classic comfort is what's needed for November, and there's nothing more classic or comfortable than a quality Earl Grey. So Harney & Sons, shout out to you once again for your organic Earl Grey Supreme. It is a staple in our house. It has a lot more bergamot than most teas that are Earl Grey. It's just superior quality. So if you're in the mood for a London fog or just a really good breakfast option, pick up some of their Earl Grey. You won't regret it. It comes, in loose varieties. It comes in bag varieties. I have the variety with me when I travel, the bagged ones every now and then, and just fantastic all around. So highly recommend a little bit of comfort. Do a classic London fog with the Earl Grey as a base. Add in a little bit of a tiny hint of vanilla, perhaps, a good oat milk or something like that, and a little lavender, perhaps. Maybe some citrus at the very, sprinkle of citrus. It'll be beautiful. So, yeah, that is my recommendation. Harney & Sons, I will post the link so you know where to buy it. But you can't go wrong with anything from them. They're just fantastic. Shout out to you. Well done. At some point, I will be a tea ambassador. All right, that does it for this month. As always, when I wrap up these productivity reports, I want to just mention that the reason that you see me put my goals out there is because I want to show you how I meet them, how I track them, how I approach them, and how I exceed them. And I want to show you what's possible when you do that and when you pay attention. That doesn't mean you have to have the same goals as I do. So measure what matters. That's my disclaimer. Productivity is highly individual. It's highly personal. It's highly customized. Do not track the same metrics that I do unless that is a goal for you. You have to have your own goals. You have to be clear on what you want, what you need, and what is required of you. And then you have to be clear on how to measure them and how to implement them and all of that. That is my specialty. I am your personal Athena if you will have me, so please reach out if you need help. Join us in an upcoming quarterly planning workshop, for example, if you are unclear about your goals. That's where we get all of that going, and that's going to be the next one in January. So hop on over and register on my website if you're interested in joining us for quarterly planning. There's no better way to get ROI on your time than to do some planning, believe me. And again, if you need to strategize, feel free to reach out. I'm here for discovery calls, and I would love to point you in the right direction as well. Meeting your goals is 100% possible. You just need to know what the goal is and how to get there. And that's what I do. So thank you again for watching. Happy holidays from Nashville. I will talk to you all in December.